dad jokes. All right. Cool. All right, guys, let's kick this thing off. First of all, welcome. Thanks for attending today's session. Really keen to have you guys, excited to have you guys for this 1 hour. I do have a lot that I've kind of got jammed into this 1 hour time slot, so I will go through some of the content pretty quick. For those of you that do know me, you know that I hate death by PowerPoint and I hate just talking at you. So the rules of today's session is please do engage. You've obviously got the chat. I've got the chat function open so I can see if anyone's dropping me a line, any questions. You can do that either through the group chat or through to me personally, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Otherwise, feel free to jump in at any stage on the audio as well. Just by way of background, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Matt. I'm a registered psychologist. I'm the head of customer engagement for what everyone knows as the graduate and project recruitment business. I've been with what was formerly known as talent management for about 5.5 years, and got a background kind of from a psych perspective in terms of coaching, facilitation, development, leadership growth mindset. So I've got a bit of experience. I wouldn't dare say I've got any credibility, but I certainly got some experience. So hopefully I can share a bit of that with you today. Today, the real focus is all about boosting performance, but we're going to do it in a little bit different than the usual corporate way that you're used to. And it's all about those feels. So if you're not the warm and fluffy type, prepare to get awkward because we're going on a journey together here today. Before I kick off, any questions, queries, thoughts, feelings, expectations? I'm going to assume everyone can still hear me, otherwise that would be super awkward. And we shall kick off. Alrighty, there's a serious lag on my end. Here we go. Alrighty, guys. So what we're talking about today, emotional intelligence. We're going to talk about the core skills of emotional intelligence. We're going to talk about the strategies to improve it. And then we're going to put it into practice as well. So I did warn you that there's going to be a bit of gaming, a bit of practice here. No one will get hurt, I promise, but we're going to make this an experiential session. Guys, someone has messaged me that there is a bit of background noise. If you can please mute. I can't actually hear any, so might be on a different channel to you guys, but please do, if you can, everyone, please mute. I'll see if I've got the function here as well. Cool beans. All right, I hope everyone's on mute and there's no background noise there anymore. All right, guys, so why are we talking about emotional intelligence? Why are we talking about emotions? We're a big corporate business. We're all separate business lines. We're all trying to do our different things, go about our lives. So why are we talking about emotions? If I break it down, it's super simple, right? What I'm telling you today is not rocket science, but it is as powerful as rocket fuel, okay? It's as simple as emotions drive people. People drive performance. So emotions are going to drive your own performance. And if you're a leader, if you're a colleague, if you have a role that requires influence, your emotions and the emotions of others is going to drive performance. So emotional intelligence helps us as individuals succeed, whether that be as a colleague, a leader, a salesperson, a partner, a friend. Okay, this is going to help us influence other people to perform. And if we're in roles of influence, do things that we want them or need them to do. Okay, so working with people means working with our emotions and the emotions of others. Make sense? I'm going to say yes. Alrighty. Sorry, guys, there's a real lag in the slides changing on my end. So give you a bit of an overview. The difference between emotional intelligence and regular intelligence, right? We think about normal intelligence, that is talking about our intellectual capability. That is about our understanding of information and how to process that information and make decisions based on that, right? It is the capacity to reason with emotion, whereas emotional intelligence is simply our ability to reason with emotions and to use that information to affect, whether that be to get results or to get outcomes or to influence, right? We can use emotions effectively. So to put simply, emotional intelligence is about being smart with emotions, your own and others. It's that ability to identify them, manage them, and manage them for yourself and for others. Pretty simple, right? Anyone else got a different view on it? Have I got you so far? Haven't lost anyone? Cool. Not seeing anything come up in the chat. So really,
we're with you. You've got us.
Awesome, beautiful. It's so hard facilitating without faces. As a psychologist, I struggle hard with that, and that's a big part of EI too in this digital era, right? So why, if we think about it, right, I want you to think about some people you've worked with. Think about people that you've just clicked with, you've gelled with, you know, they've been inspirational leaders. And at the same time, think about the converse to that. Think about people that you really haven't gelled with. They've rubbed you up the wrong way. They just couldn't get you to do anything, couldn't motivate, or you just couldn't communicate on the same language. Chances are is what you're thinking about there or what you've got is the difference between potentially someone who has high EQ, emotional intelligence, or low EQ. Or sometimes research actually shows that people with really, really, really high IQ can often be low in that emotional intelligence, right? It can sometimes hang. So it's really about thinking about those really great experiences, great leaders you've had. Often the authentic leaders, the ones that show their warts and all, they're the kind of people that have really high emotional intelligence. They have that capability to connect and to help people perform. So you can see on the left-hand side here, those traits, you know, they have high self-worth. They're recognize and understand emotions. They're not afraid to engage them, whether someone's upset or confused, or to call those emotions out. They really exhibit these strong social skills. Now, the cool thing about this, guys, is research shows that your actual intelligence, your IQ is pretty locked. You can't influence it too much. Whereas your emotional intelligence, it's like a muscle, right? You can flex it, you can grow it, you can make it bigger. If you don't use it, it can shrink, right? So there's hope. If you've had feedback, if people say you don't have great emotional intelligence, you can work on it. There's still hope for you yet. Most of us anyway. All right, so why else does this matter, right? The other thing is emotions are contagious. Now, it's probably not good for me to be talking about contagious things and viruses in the COVID era, so I don't want anyone freaking out. But the value of emotional intelligence is people catch feelings from others. It's a phenomenon known as emotional contagion. So one person's emotions and those behaviors directly trigger similar emotions and behaviors in other people. You know, in psychology and in sales, we often learn that if you put a smile on your face, you'll often see other people subconsciously start smiling as well. If you see someone with a really infectious laugh, yeah, I see other people just start laughing with them, often laughing at them, right? The laugh just gets them out. But at the same time, you've probably always experienced someone who comes in and they've just got that really flat demeanor, or they're a grump, or like they're just really prickly to deal with. And you can sense that energy shift in a room when that grump or that Eeyore enters the room, right? And B, you're right. Yeah, you can catch emotions over Zoom as well, right? Virtual emotional contagion. Absolutely. So whether it's positive or negative, emotions spread among your team, right? We catch those feelings. We catch those moods. So, you know, we can really influence our performance as a team, our performance as a business based on mood and emotion. Now, there's a really simple flow in psychology. And we say that, you know, we feel something, it makes us think something, and it makes us do something. Now, you think from a management perspective, a leadership perspective, and we go, I need my team to perform. I need my team to produce results. So we go in and we say, this is the behavior I want you to do. This is the behavior I want to see, or this is the outcome I want. But what we need to do is that's the action, that's the behavior, but that's influenced by what someone's thinking. Now, you can maybe influence what someone is thinking by giving them information, giving them facts. But again, you're only halfway through the journey. Whereas if you step right back and influence how someone feels about something, then you can actually influence organically how they think and act around something. So rather than telling people how to perform or what to do, we want them to feel invested in that process. We want them to feel that achieving results or achieving an outcome is actually something that's really valuable and important to them. If they feel engaged, if they feel connected, they're going to start thinking about, well, what can I do to achieve that? And then they're going to actually start taking that action as well. I see a note here from V, same in marketing, make them feel first, then engage their mind, then give them a strong call to action and close the deal. Absolutely. And this applies whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, whether you're in our corporate functions, right? Our corporate functions, you guys are the backbone to our business. You need to be able to influence all these different stakeholders, right? You guys are bringing about change. You're bringing about new solutions, new ways of working. You need to make every business in Hudson feel something about that, feel on board the journey. Then they will start thinking about it, right? Engage their mind. Then they're going to start putting those new processes into action. Does that make sense? Has anyone got any examples, thoughts, queries? Awesome. Okay. Guys, the other thing about this is you're not born with emotional intelligence. We actually start developing it from babies, right? From infants, we start seeing it come to life through people's facial expressions. So facial expressions is super important in this, both for positive and negative emotions. Now, I spoke about in the big spiel to get you all here, I spoke about emotional culture, right? And this is where this contagion piece really comes into play. Even if you have an emotional culture of suppression, it's still emotional intelligence in play. So by not allowing emotions in the workplace, but also not understanding them and consciously shaping them, engaging them, we're missing out on the most powerful way to motivate people to perform. So emotional culture is shaped by how every single employee, from our CEO through to the person, the grad that's just joined today, it's all about how they comport themselves day in and day out. But it's up to us as individuals to establish which emotions are going to help us thrive. We need to model those emotions, and we need to reward and recognize people for demonstrating those emotions, not behaviors, but emotions. Make sense? And there's so much research that really drives how effective this is. So there's so much research that indicates that people with high emotional intelligence actually have all these reported benefits. So we see that leaders with high EQ actually have greater teamwork effectiveness. People of completely different backgrounds, cultures, belief systems, ways of working, doesn't matter. It's all about the emotional intelligence and recognizing, communicating, engaging the emotions in the moment. Naturally, that feeds onto employee engagement. Cultures with higher emotional intelligence have higher rates of employee engagement, which means we have stronger relationships, we have greater trust in each other, greater trust in our business, greater trust in our leaders, right? When we have greater trust and greater relationship and greater engagement, naturally, we have greater performance, we have greater productivity because we feel invested in it, we're thinking about how do we act on it, and then we're actually doing the behaviors that want to engage us, right? And conversely, think about if you have a leader with low emotional intelligence, right? They don't understand, they don't read the room, they don't understand the energy. They might have the best plan, the best strategy. They might be super intellectual. The idea that they've got is 100% correct, but they haven't thought about the emotional impact of their decision. I've seen it so many times, right? When I'm working with clients, best laid plan, best laid strategy, roll it out, misread the room, misread where the culture is at the moment. And it's just like smashing into a brick wall, right? Nobody gets on. The culture eats that strategy for breakfast because we haven't engaged the emotion. We haven't got people to feel a certain way and buy into it. Does that make sense? Any questions, thoughts, feelings? All right. I'm going to keep throwing some more research at you before we get here, because I know some people think this is still really warm and fuzzy, but there's so much hard data and evidence on this, right? When it comes to success, there's an overwhelming amount of research that concludes that whilst IQ is important, you know, your cognitive horsepower, it only predicts somewhere between 1 to maybe 20% of your job success, right? Whereas emotional intelligence kicks in at 27% and ranks up all the way up to 45%. So almost 50% of your employment job success comes down to your ability to manage, engage, and influence with the emotions of other people around you. Now think about that, right? I've got 5 uni degrees, right? You know, we've all got different experiences, degrees. None of that weights compared to just being able to emotionally engage with people. Like that's incredible, right? The power and the strength of that. So we actually can see that people, yes, V, yes, anyway, adults with high EQ have better career advancement. They're rated as more effective, more engaging leaders, and they have better personal and professional relationships. And this research actually shows that there's no correlation between education, background, level of experience. You know, leaders who were first-time leaders compared to 20-year experience leadership veterans, it was still the ones with high EQ that were voted, you know, the most engaging, most successful, most effective. So it's all about them EQ. It's all about them feels. And just to rub it in a little bit more, Talent Smart, the world's largest provider of emotional intelligence assessments, they did this massive global study against 33 other important workplace skills. You know, things like strategic problem solving, critical thinking, educational background, leadership experience. The #1 contributor to on-the-job success was emotional intelligence, time and time again. #1 predictor of performance. So what they found, 90% of top performers were also high intelligence in EQ. Over half of their job performance was attributed to emotional intelligence. And when they directly contrasted to their peers with lower EQ, it was the higher EQ that made them nearly 30K more than their peers per annum. Right? Because you think about it, these are people that can influence. They can influence up, they can influence sideways, they can influence downwards, they can influence clients. They can help people achieve what they need to achieve. So naturally, they're going to be far more successful and get promotions and get pay rises, right? There's a massive, massive connection here scientifically between your ability to manage emotions and to perform and succeed. There's also heaps of other research that links it to greater mental health, physical health. You know, if you can connect emotionally with your partner at home, with your kids, probably going to make life a heck of a lot easier, right? Cool. Now, there's something I want to highlight here, and you probably should hopefully have the answer by now, but there's one reason why people quit a job. It's the same reason why people stay at a job. It's the same reason why people persevere through change, through tough times, through uncertainty, through recession. And it's also the same reason why people use Hudson Service, why they buy our products. What do you think that might be? Chuck it out there, chuck it on the chat. No answer is a silly answer. Cool, see it comes through on the chat. Rachel says people. Chris says your leader. Andy says the people. V says human connection. Laura says engagements. Melbourne says trust and culture. Sal says relationships. Zach says motivation, perceived opportunity, feeling of belonging. Samantha says the community vibe. Awesome, awesome guys. Money, money, money. Yeah. In the current environment, it definitely is money, money, money. We're certainly seeing in crazy bloated salaries at the moment. But buyer beware, the market can crash as quickly as it can go up, and the first one in, first one out, right? So I wouldn't be making a move right now just for the money's sake. But everything you're saying is right. It comes down to relationships, okay? Relationships are #1. Now, A way of exemplifying that, obviously I'm in sales, so I'm going to talk about sales, but really I don't say I'm in sales, right? I'm in the art of human relationships. I'm in the art of connecting with people. And as a result, they buy stuff, right? But research has shown, global research has shown that 68% of complex sales, and complex sales, your big, meaty, multi-process processes that, $1 million accounts, these are huge. These are not just go into a retail store and make a purchase. Really competitive, complex sales. 68% of them, the number one factor that influenced buyers the most was not brand, was not reputation, was not product, was not price. It was the buyer's experience of the salesperson. It was the buyer's experience of you, the relationship, the perceived relationship and experience that they had with that salesperson. Now you think about that effect, right? Same goes for you guys as colleagues, staff, leaders, friends, lovers, clients, right? They're buying into the experience of you, all right? They're not buying into your reputation or your brand, okay? It's about you. Now you think about this from a strategic business perspective. And don't get me wrong, I know it's important to have great branding and great ethos and great reputation, but when buyers want to buy you, you're the only place that they can get you, right? Super simple, but it makes you an asset. It makes you an extremely advantageous and competitive asset, because it doesn't matter how good our competitors are. It doesn't matter how cheap they undercut us. It doesn't matter how whiz-bang their technology is. If they are connected to you and they value you and they want to buy you, they can't get it at our competitors. They can't get it anywhere else. And that same thing applies to partners, to your relationships, right? If people want to buy you, they can't get it anywhere else. You are an asset. So you've got to always focus on the relationships. Now, you're probably going, cool, Matt, heaps of knowledge, heaps of information. You promised you wouldn't do death by PowerPoint. It's almost lunchtime. Well, it is lunchtime. I'm starting to go into that carb coma. Get to the good stuff, right? The secret sauce, okay? And most of you who know me, I swear a lot. So I think I've done pretty good not to swear at this point. So I had to put it here in a visual format. But whether it's a client, whether it's a candidate, whether it's an internal stakeholder or a direct report, every person has problems. Every person has a challenge, and they're looking for someone to help them with it, whether they're aware of it consciously or not. You think about every day you come into work, guaranteed at some point in the day, you're going to have a challenge or a problem, and you're going to need someone to help you with that, right? Whether, it's the credit team, whether it's our invoicing team, whether it's IT, whether it's someone in your team, a subject matter expert. We always, as humans, instinctively look for help when we have a challenge. Now, to be able to do that, we need to perceive and have trust in someone. We need to see someone as a source of value, right? Now, if I have someone in my team that's a subject matter expert, but I don't see them as a source of value, or I can't trust them, right? I'm not going to engage them, even though they've got the knowledge and the intellect. Right? So if you want to be actually seen, if we think that this from a customer perspective or from a leadership perspective, if you want to motivate, inspire, influence, and generate success, you need to be trusted by people. You need to be seen as valuable, okay? And you can't have value as a leader, a recruiter, a friend, or a colleague if you don't have trust. Does that make sense? I haven't seen anyone dropping out of the call yet, so I don't think I've lost you yet. Now, here's the formula for the secret sauce, okay? Trust is your credibility, your reliability, and your intimacy over self-orientation. Now, credibility is all about your words. It's about telling the truth, right? It's about telling people what is the reality, the good, the bad, or the ugly. It's not just about telling them what they want to hear. It's about being authentic. Now, when we hear people harp on about authentic leadership, this is it. This is the secret sauce. Reliability is all about your actions, keeping your promises, keeping your commitments. Doesn't matter how much credibility you have. If you promise something to your team, to your clients, to your stakeholders, you don't deliver on that commitment, it's all undone. And the last bit is intimacy. And this is not about sleeping with your clients or sleeping with your colleagues, all right? It's about our emotions. It's about being open and being transparent. Now, this really freaks people out because people often think, leaders, managers, especially the ones that have been around for a long time, the old school types, they freak out about this stuff. This is the workplace. This is professional. We don't talk about emotions. We don't unearth that stuff. We don't scratch the surface. That's not our hands off. Don't touch it. That's old school. That's so 90s. That's so 80s. That's so American, right? You want success, you've got to embrace emotions in the workplace. Now, all of that can be undone by self-orientation. And that is where your genuine focus lies. You could be telling the truth, you could be following through on your commitments, you could be being open and transparent, but if you still only give a shit about yourself, people pick up on that vibe. People sense that, and it's going to be undone. So if you can't be genuine about your intentions, it's going to be undone. Now, let's think about that in a sales context, right? How self-interested are salespeople? Like, you think about when you walk into a retail store, you want to purchase something, right? They come up to you, you get that, I do anyway, I get that tension. I'm like, here we go. Sales clerk, hey, how's your day going? How can I help you? You can see it, right? They just think of, I want to just process this sale. I got a commission to hit. I just want to get you there. And I've got this formula. It's so obvious, right? Even us as recruiters, how many times have you called up and, you say, hey, I'm Matt from Hudson. Oh, no, we don't want to hear from you, right? We've got a recruitment agency. We don't deal with agency. We don't deal externally, right? They know because, unfortunately, other people have created a bad rep. They think that we're calling just to make a sale. So we think about salespeople, right? Or a recruitment, right? If you're just coming to make the placement, that's self-interest, okay? If you're just asking questions to discover what product or candidate you can jam down their throat, self-interest. If you're yapping on about our brand, our company, our offering, our point of difference, self-interest. You're still talking about you. You're still talking about, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm trying to push something on you, okay? What are the chances of you really building trust with that client if you're doing all the talking and you're trying to push them onto something, right? So it's really about stepping back and actually stopping and listening. And this carries over to leadership, relationships, workplace, personal. It's all about how you interact with people and the position you take. Start from the position of a listener. Ask questions, open-ended questions. Don't start pushing your imperative or your initiative. Questions, thoughts, challenges? Can anyone align with that? The key thing here, guys, is the more you talk about yourself, you're upping the sale or self-interest scale and you're diluting the trust scale, okay? So it's really important to remember. Samantha says, can you sell your emotional intelligence in an interview? Yeah, definitely. Obviously talking about it is the first thing, but demonstrating it is the other part, right? You can either give an example through an experience and demonstrate it, but also through the way you engage. If you think about an interview, people are always think it's about, well, they just have to ask me the questions and I respond. Ask questions back. Use the techniques I'll teach you today and throw them back. Bring them to life in the interview process.
Hey Matthew, it's Renee here in the Melbourne office. I just thought I'd give a little example, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Based on that slide, I think last year through COVID, I think we probably made the deepest relationships with our clients and our candidates that we've ever made before. And you go back to March 2020 when all of this pandemic first blew up. We were calling clients, we were calling candidates. There were no jobs, for a couple of months there, and we weren't calling them to try and push an agenda to try and pick up jobs. We were calling to say, how are you? How are you doing at home? Do you have a family? Do you, we're kind of having this insight into who has kids, and you end up building, you don't have an agenda, you know, and we actually did care. And the amount of people that, you know, found out whose marriage is breaking down and, you know, whose kids are doing this and who's sick, and you just got into this depth of conversation that you've never had before. And that has created on-flow of credibility. People are relying on us, not just for jobs and candidates, but actually for their mental health. You know, they were calling us to chat.
Yep.
And with real intimacy like in that. So I think I've been, you know, people are really connecting with vulnerability, you know, rather than that really hardcore sales angle. And we've really taken that into this year as well, now that we're back in the office. But I know some other offices are now back in lockdown and can have that kind of same experience that we all had in March. So, yeah, I think, yeah, we really relate to this.
Perfect example. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That is a great example. You know, COVID, whilst it drove us, you know, apart from an isolation perspective, a digital perspective, it actually created an opportunity to get more real with people. You know, I think a big part of it was, you know, I'd be presenting to a client and my 2-year-old would come in who was toilet training a number of times and was like, you know, Dad, I've done a number 2 on the potty, and I'm like live on a call. And I'm like, whew. But it creates this connection. It allows us to be real. And that's emotional intelligence. Some of my best sales during COVID came from instances like that, where people saw that you were just a real human being. You know, I've got a rule that I applied when I took on this role after the restructure. My first meeting, my only goal was to build a relationship. I don't want to talk about Hudson. I don't want to talk about what we do. I don't want to talk about anything, right? I want to come out of that and that person feels like they've had a counseling session. They've just told me everything about what's going on for them, challenges, hopes, dreams, ups, downs, all those sorts of things. And then I've got the most perfect excuse, you know, that hour runs up, we've got a dash, we go, look, and they feel like they owe you something, right? So psychological tokens. They go, wow, you know, I've just spoken about myself the whole time. We didn't even get to chat about you or Hudson. You know, let's organize another catch up. And then bang, right? You've built a relationship, you've built trust. And whether people do it consciously or not, clients will always throw hooks out there, right? They'll put bait out there. They'll talk about their recruitment challenges or their hiring challenges. And whether they're aware of it or not, they're waiting for you to bite that hook. And the second you bite on that first hook, oh, wow, you've got a recruitment challenge. You've got a hiring challenge. Well, you know, we're the best in the business. Let me tell you about what we do. Boom, lost them. You've just shown your true intention. You're there to make a sale, right? You're there to cash in, make your commission. You're not really there to build a relationship. So I always walk away from that first meeting. I don't bite any hooks. I don't take any bait. They can put it out on a silver platter. I still don't take it, right? I take note. I know it's there, but that's my angle next time, not in the first engagement.
Hey, Matt, it's Steve here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
When I started in recruitment, I did a reference check with BAE Systems, and it was a new client that I'd been, you know, trying to build a relationship with. And the candidate was refusing to give me his manager's details. So I had to get the manager, and I forced the issue, and he eventually gave me his manager's mobile number. When I spoke to the manager, she said, I'm really surprised that he gave you my details, because he was a performer. He didn't do the work that, you know, he was hired to do. So she gave me a you know, an honest and negative reference. So I thought about it, phoned the client, and I said to Peter, you can't hire him. These are the reasons why, you know, X, Y, and Z. So Peter came back to me and said, Steve, you've just gone up to the #1 on my list of recruiters to call in the future. He's still a client of mine today. So it just goes to show that honesty. Yeah. You might not have got the sale across the line, but it pays dividends 10 years down the line, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. And those relationships will keep coming back, right? Doesn't matter whether it's that client today or they're a new client tomorrow. If you've got that trust and relationship, they will keep coming back to you, hands down. Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to quickly show you here. This is an example of it in a sales process. So excuse the 90s vibe of this. It was the only way I could find it. But in red is like the traditional sales approach, right? Meet a client, they say, hey, I've got a problem. You go, cool, I've got a solution. Let me send you some pricing. And then let me pitch it to you and tell you all about how awesome we are. And then let's negotiate on price. Oh, and now that you've actually bought a product, shit, let's build a relationship, right? Let's actually be real. Old school works maybe 5% of the time. Your hit rate's going to suck, right? But it's this natural tendency we have when we've got sales targets, we've got the pressure, we just get in that mindset. Whereas down the bottom, you see, okay, let's meet our client. They've got a problem, they've got stuff going on, but all we're thinking about is trust. All we're thinking about is that relationship. We're not taking the bait. We're not thinking about what we do, what our product is. And then we start exploring value. Okay, then we start going, well, what's important to you as a person? What's important to you as the professional of this client, right? What actually is important to you? What does success look like? What does a relationship look like? Build that with them. And then you go, okay, now let's start talking about, hey, you mentioned you've got a problem before. What would a solution look like? If you could dream it up, what would the best solution look like? And then you get to that point where you go, okay, well, that's a great solution. And they go, well, do you have a product for that? Can you fix that? Can you help me? And you go, well, yeah, absolutely. It's a product you had all the way at the start, but you've got them feeling a certain way. Then you got them thinking a certain way. And now you've got them acting a certain way, which is buying your product, right? They felt on board on the journey. They started thinking about what they needed, which is you, but we haven't stated that. But then we got to the end where they said, well, damn, I just want to buy you. What have you got, right? It doesn't matter what you put in front of them. So hands down, I call it the no price sale. So I've got examples where clients will ask me, what's your price? What's your price? What's your price? I say, I don't know what value is to you. I don't know what good looks like. I don't know what success is. Let's have a conversation. And then you get to the point, and 9 times out of 10, you can be more expensive, but you'll still win that piece of work. All right. What I've got here, guys, this is the 4 quadrants of emotional intelligence. This is where I'm going to quickly give you guys some skill sets, because I do want you guys to practice this thing. Hopefully the tech works, but I'll give you some quick skills, right? I want this to be meaningful for you guys. But as you can see here, it all starts with self-awareness. You can see the quadrant, right? It's all about personal or social, and it's all about recognizing or regulating. So self-awareness is where, from an emotional intelligence perspective, we start, okay? That is recognizing your personal emotions, what causes them, how they impact your thinking, your actions, your communication, right? If you can get your self-awareness right, you can move to the right to that social, okay? And this is where you now start using and recognizing the feelings and emotions of others to create outcomes. And this is where empathy sits. If you go back to self-awareness, if you've got that, you can move down to that self-management space, which is regulating your own emotions. Now, if you can regulate your own emotions and also recognize and regulate the emotions of others, that is relationship management. So managing your interactions with other people, right? Maintaining strong relationships. So expressing your emotions, communicating effectively. I know it's simple stuff, but I'll also share these slides, guys. If you want it, please contact me. Happy to talk more. It's super simple stuff, but this is kind of the breakdown. What I want to focus on from a skills perspective is that social awareness and how that helps you actually build relationships, okay? So it's all about being that awareness of your emotions in the workplace and how to influence other people through that. Okay, it's about having those social skills to communicate and influence. It's like Sal's just said in the comments, be yourself, be authentic, okay? Be real, have warts and all, embrace the tough conversations. When you need someone to do something at work, don't think about the task, don't try and change their thinking, get back to the feels. How do I want them to feel about this? When people say, plant the seeds to get someone on a journey, that's what they're actually saying in another way. Planting seeds is by planting the feels. Get people feeling, they'll get thinking, they'll get doing. Super simple, right? Now, here are the skills. If there's anything to take away from today, this is the page, right? Having awareness of your social situations means you need to consider what your people want, and you need to communicate with them in a way that is intended to meet that need, okay? If people want clarity, they want communication, coming in being short, sharp, succinct, and blunt, it's not going to work, right? If people want to understand the journey we're going on as a new business, coming in and just throwing them with facts and a PowerPoint and commercial slides and financial numbers, it ain't going to fly. People want to feel on the journey, okay? And you do that through these 2 different components. First is what you see on the right there, building empathy. That is where it starts. This is your ability to accurately sense the emotions and understand it. Read the room, okay? You might have the best rational decision, but think about where your team is at. Think about where your people is at. You know, think about how do I actually broach them with this, right? Same as with when we're selling. If a client is in a heap, if a client is struggling, right, don't just come start jamming a solution down their throat. Okay, you need to come back and embrace the feeling with them. Sit with them in that, enter their shoes, okay? And then break down the steps. Put yourself in their shoes, pay attention to their body language. 60, 70% of what people are truly saying is in their body language. And that's the same for you, right? If you're talking out of your ass, people will see it through the way you're saying it and the way you're demonstrating, okay? Now, the key thing is for people, for clients, this is that bait piece, right? The hook, always be thinking the hook. The hook is content. What you want to be focusing on is the feelings, right? Ignore the content. Reflect on how people are feeling, all right? And then this moves to your active listening skills. These are the skills to break it down. Mirror, validate, empathize, all right? Just think that MVE. Mirror what they're saying, validate what they're saying, empathize for their position, okay? So think about, you know, one of your colleagues is saying they're really struggling with a new tech, a new process. So you say something like, let me check my understanding with you, Matt. What I'm hearing is you're really struggling to engage with this new technology. You're experiencing some challenges. Am I hearing you right? And the person's going to go, yeah, yep, exactly. You are hearing me right. Okay, cool. Well, you know, it makes sense to me that you're feeling that way. You know, it's a new tech. It's a new process. It's a new challenge. That's scary as all hell. Like, I would feel anxious about that too, given this situation. I totally understand. It is a normal feeling, right? Validate their feeling. And then empathize, okay? If I was in your shoes, I would be feeling the same way, all right? Or I would imagine if I was in that situation, I would be feeling exactly the same way, all right? Now you think about that from a client perspective. They're telling you all about their problems. All of our competitors are going to go, awesome, I've got the right candidate for you. The client's going to go, great, you didn't hear me. I just told you I've got a problem and you're just jamming a candidate down my throat. Or one of your team comes and says, I've got an issue and you're jamming a solution down their throat. I'm criminal number one for that, okay? So really think about how you can actually respond to the emotion first, get people feeling, then you can influence their thinking and then influencing their buy-in to the solution. Does that make sense? Can people resonate? Do people got questions? Has anyone got any thoughts, feelings? Awesome. V is feeling the feels. V, you're always feeling the feels, you know? I expect that from you. I hope everyone else is feeling the feels. All right, guys. Now, fingers crossed, haven't done this. What have we got? We've got 68 people on the call. Fingers crossed that we can make this work, all right? What we're going to do is we're going to split you up into pairs. This is where we're going to put the practice into play. It is super simple. Now, what's this game? This is a really wicked game. For those of you who have been around, oh, I can see the introverts starting to drop off the call. This game was developed by Viren. Viren is was our previous head of innovation for talent management. And he actually developed this game. It's a really awesome, easy, non-invasive way to just really build relationships with people, practicing these skills. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to split you up into pairs and we're just going to practice it. But it's really fun. It's really engaging. You go, don't freak out. Introverts, bear with me. Hold on. We can do this, guys. Challenge yourself. Push yourself. All right. We can do this. Now, the objective of the game. So you got that little wheel here, right? The objective of Quinks is to fill out this values map, okay, for your buddy that you're going to get partnered up with. All right. You need to just simply listen to what the other person is saying. And then based on that, you just fill out this little values map, right? Your values are pretty simple around there. Based on what you hear from your buddy, you need to assess what you think they value, right? If they're telling you all about their family and maybe something they did on the weekend, you start ticking these little boxes under helping and caring or fun and enjoyment, right? No right or wrong. The challenge, though, is this is going to show you how hard it is to actually listen authentically to someone without judgment, whilst flexing your active listening and empathy skills and also applying a level of thinking that allows you to put people into these brackets, right? But if you can do this, guaranteed, you can build trust. You can have the most crucial element of EQ. And it doesn't matter whether you want to be a kick-ass leader, top biller, rock zenith every year, be the best partner you can be, whatever it is, this is the secret sauce right here. If you can do this, you can crush it. All right. Now, guys, like I said, we haven't done this on scale before. We're going to embrace it. If it doesn't work from a tech perspective, I'm sorry, but let's give it a red hot crack. You will see the instructions. The amazing Wendy has put up instructions in here. But essentially what we're going to do, it's super simple, right? I'm going to draw up a random question, which I've actually already drawn up. I'm going to split you into pairs, and one person's going to answer that question. They're just going to talk for 2 minutes. The other person, your job is to listen, okay? This is not rocket science, guys. One speak for 2 minutes, one listen for 2 minutes, all right? Now, speaker, if you run out of things to say in 2 minutes, it's over to the listener. You got to ask some questions. You got to be listening and engaging, okay? Use that mirroring, use that validation, use that empathy, right? Keep the conversation going for 2 minutes. We'll see us pop up in the broadcast, and we'll keep it going. After that 2 minutes, listener, I want you to spend a minute reflecting, summarizing, and showing those where you think those people sit on that values chart. And then we're going to swap roles. That's it. Are we keen? Who's on board? Are we good?
Hey, Matt, just with the guys that are in a meeting room, maybe they just want to split off into pairs in a corner somewhere.
Awesome. Yes. I don't know how that's going to work.
It's up to them.
Yep, let's
or they
go
can
for that.
chat amongst themselves in a group.
Yep, let's do that. Sounds good. All righty. So Wendy is going to split everyone in groups. Hopefully it works. For context, here's your first question. So we've randomly generated, this game has this cool generator, it generates a question and it randomly generates a context. Question 1 is, what is one of your biggest accomplishments? And the context generated is in the context of friends, family, or relationships. All right, so we'll broadcast this again. So someone take on the role of speaker. All right, you're going to answer the question, what is one of your biggest accomplishments in the context of friends, family, and relationships? And then when the time is up, we'll prompt you through the broadcast, and then we'll shoot through the second question so you guys can swap roles and move on. And then we'll quickly get together at the end. We'll power through, guys. Here we go. See if it works. See how it goes. Also, guys, you'll see a little, if you want to open up on your phone or something separate, if you go to values.quinks.co, you can open up that little map as well. It's a little interactive map that you can get up on your phone or your desktop whilst you're interacting with your buddy. Now, I know it is a bit of a manual process.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool.
Hey, Alicia, I can hear you as well.
Oh, okay. How many are in this group then?
Hi, Alicia. We're here, like all of Wellington as well.
Oh my gosh!
Hey,
Don't start
guys,
sharing you.
guys,
Yep, we can hear you
sorry,
too.
that was my fault. That's Wendy, the tech not so guru. I've just created one massive big breakout room, so bear with me, okay? I'm just going to delete them all and start again. Sorry,
All
guys.
good, Wendy.
I have
Hello.
I got 6 brothers, 4 of them in IT. I'm the psychologist, and this is why I'm not doing this, because it would be even worse. We probably wouldn't have even made it on the call if I was managing this. But people in the rooms, feel free to break out amongst yourselves already. You got the question, you've got the card there, so feel free to kick on. Alrighty, everyone's coming back in. A few minutes overtime. Sorry we didn't get to the second question, guys. I think we're just coming back. Everyone's coming back. Here we go, here we go. Ah, Stephen Small, my man, long time no see.
Hey, Matty.
What's going on?
Living the dream, buddy. Living the dream. Thanks.
Glad to hear it, brother. Glad to hear it. Alrighty, guys. Looks like we've got everyone back in the room. I hope that you guys got a feel for that and got a an understanding of it. Does anyone, while we've got a couple of minutes, anyone want to reflect on that? Anyone have an experience? Last time I did this, we had a few people crying. You know, any cries? Any good sessions? Any good learnings?
I think we need to run it for a bit longer, Matt.
Yeah, I'm happy to do another session, guys, if anyone ever wants to do this properly, or if you want to do it for your local team. I've got access to the toolkit and the card generator. There's a whole sort of visual game that goes with it. Does anyone else have any reflections either from that or more broadly? Cool. I'm happy to share. I had a great session with the person I was partnered up with. It was an awesome opportunity just to really practice those skills, hear them. Sometimes it's really hard, even in a rushed environment. Sometimes our clients are rushed, so you're trying to jam a purpose or get to an outcome. So it was really cool for us in a really condensed time to challenge ourselves and actually interact. But guys, if there's nothing else that you wanted to say or do or raise, happy to end it there. I hope you found this session valuable. I hope you took something away. And like I said, I'm genuinely here to help. And if anyone wants to talk more about it or put some skills in play, I'm always happy to help.
Sweet. Thanks, Matty.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Matt.
Thanks so much,
Awesome.
Matt.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, Matt, you want to stay online just for 2 minutes?
Yeah.